Sardauna, the quiet giant of the north. The morning sun rose slowly over the dusty plains of Rabba, a small settlement in what is now Sokoto state. The air carried the soft echoes of prayer, blending with the distant sounds of cattle bells and early trade. In that quiet world, on the 12th of June 1910, a child was born into legacy. His name was Ahmadu Bello. He was not just any child. He was a descendant of the great Usman Dan Fodio, the legendary reformer who had once reshaped an entire region through faith, knowledge, and leadership. From the very beginning, expectation surrounded him, but expectation alone does not make a leader. That must be built. A child between two worlds, young Ahmadu grew up in a world where tradition was law and honor was everything. He studied the Quran under the watchful eyes of scholars, absorbing discipline, humility, and faith. But something unusual shaped him further. He stepped into Western education at a time when many in the North were cautious of it. At Sokoto Provincial School, and later Katsina Training College, he encountered new ideas, administration, governance, and modern systems. Two worlds lived inside him, one rooted in tradition, the other reaching toward the future. And instead of choosing one, he mastered both. The making of a leader. Before politics ever called his name, Ahmadu Bello served his people directly. As district head of Rabba and later in Guso, he learned something no classroom could teach. Leadership is not about power, it is about responsibility. He walked among farmers, listened to traders, and understood the struggles of ordinary people. He saw clearly that northern Nigeria, though vast and powerful in history, was falling behind in modern development. And he made a quiet decision. That would change. The rise of the Sardauna. By the late 1940s, winds of change were blowing across Nigeria. Colonial rule was weakening, and the future of the nation was being negotiated. Ahmadu Bello stepped into politics not for ambition, but for protection of his people's interests. He co-founded the Northern People's Congress, a movement that would become the voice of northern Nigeria. In 1954, he became premier of the northern region, the largest region in the country. But what defined him wasn't just the position, it was what he did with it. Power declined. As independence approached, a critical decision emerged. Who would lead Nigeria? Many expected Ahmadu Bello to become prime minister. He had the influence, the support, and the authority. But instead, he made a choice that stunned many. He stepped aside and nominated his trusted ally, Abubakar Tafawa Balewa. Why? Because Bello believed his duty was not to rule Nigeria from the center, but to strengthen the north from within. It was a rare kind of power. The power to refuse power. Building a future as premier. Ahmadu Bello began transforming northern Nigeria with quiet determination. He introduced policies to uplift his people, especially through education and economic development. At a time when many northerners had limited access to formal education, he pushed for schools, training, and opportunities. His vision became known as the Northernization Policy, not to exclude others, but to ensure his region would not be left behind. Under his leadership, institutions rose from vision into reality. Ahmadu Bello University, a center of learning that would shape generations. Bank of the North, empowering economic growth. Northern Nigeria Development Corporation, driving industry and progress. Roads expanded. Agriculture improved. Systems modernized. He wasn't loud about it, but he was relentless. A man of principle. Despite his influence, Ahmadu Bello remained deeply rooted in humility and faith. He balanced Islamic values with modern governance, refusing to let one destroy the other. He believed unity was not about sameness, but cooperation. And though Nigeria was diverse, complex, and often divided, Bello held firmly to one idea. A nation can only stand if its parts are strong. The night that changed everything. Then came the 15th of January 1966. The air was tense. Whispers of unrest had been growing, but few could imagine what was about to unfold. A group of young military officers, led by Chukwuma Kaduna Zeogwu, launched Nigeria's first coup. In the early hours, violence spread. Leaders were targeted. And in Kaduna, the life of Ahmadu Bello came to an end. Silence. And aftermath. His death was not just the loss of a man, it was the loss of balance. Nigeria, still young and fragile, began to fracture. Trust eroded. Suspicion grew. The events that followed would eventually lead to one of the darkest chapters in the nation's history, the Nigerian Civil War. The quiet giant was gone, and the silence he left behind was loud. A legacy that endures. Today, the name Ahmadu Bello is not forgotten. It lives on, in the halls of Ahmadu Bello University, on Nigeria's 200 Note, in Ariwa House, his former residence turned museum. But more than monuments, his legacy lives in an idea. That leadership is not about visibility, not about control, not about titles, but about building something that lasts beyond you. He did not chase the spotlight. He did not demand the highest seat. Yet in shaping a region, he shaped a nation. Ahmadu Bello, the Sardauna of Sokoto, remains one of Nigeria's quietest, yet most powerful architects of history. If you enjoyed the story of Ahmadu Bello, Sardauna, the quiet giant of the North, like this video and subscribe for more African legends and forgotten histories. Share this story and tell us in the comments which African legend we should tell next.